So I only read 3 books in June, so this will be a very short little segment. I read Daughter of Mine by Megan Miranda. I gave it 4 stars. Very compelling story. She knows how to write. Megan Miranda, you might be my new favorite thriller author. Lisa Jewell, watch out. Then I read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This was a book club pick. I had this on my list to read forever, but somehow every time I read the plot, I was just like, I don't know if I really want to read this. So I just kind of struggle reading it. I feel like I enjoyed aspects of it, but the plot was just kind of dragging. So I gave it 3 stars. And then I read The Last Love Note by Emma Gray. I don't know what was going on in this book, but I was in a chokehold. It had me, and I cried multiple times in this book, and that just might be hormones, or it just might be the good book. So, not sure, but those are the 3 books I read in June. So I picked back up in reading in July. I don't know what was going on in June. I wasn't feeling it. But July, I started with The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama, which I gave 4 stars. I loved Becoming, so I was like, I gotta read this newer Michelle Obama book. She tells different stories in here than she does in Becoming, but this book is a lot more like advice and wisdom. So overall, it's a pretty good read. Then I read What to Expect the First Year by Heidi Murkoff. So, hey, pregnancy book. Not really so much pregnancy, but just child book. So, yeah. Then I read I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie Sue, which I would give 4 stars. The whole premise of this book is just kind of crazy. But this is kind of the coworker you aspire to be. Somebody who just kind of like gives up caring sometimes. And you know, I try really hard at work, so sometimes you get tired of trying so hard. But yeah, so that was a good, interesting read for sure. Then I read We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kluwer, which I gave 4 stars. The premise of this book, crazy. And this is why I don't answer my door when people knock on my door. Because I'm not letting anybody up into my house too much. 4 stars for that one. Then I read Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth, which I gave 4 stars. It's more like family dynamics more than mystery. I feel like the plot kind of makes it seem like it's a mystery, but it's more so family dynamics. But it was a pretty interesting read for that one. Then I reread One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I haven't read it since the first time I read it, and then I watched the movie. I love this book. It's a 5-star book. So the first time I read it, loved it. Watched the movie, I said, ugh. So I was kind of like scared to reread the book because I was like, don't taint this for me. I reread it, still loved it. So check out One True Loves. It's such a sweet little story. Then I read The Pregnancy Countdown book by Susan Maggi. Just telling you what to expect each month that you're pregnant. So yeah, a lot going on. Then I read Birding with Benefits by Sarah Dubb. I gave this book 3 stars. It starts off really fun and like the concept is kind of different because a lot of romances are kind of the same. But you read this title, Birding with Benefits, and you're like, what the heck? And it starts off pretty cute, but kind of drops off in the middle there. Then I read One Star Romance by Laura Hankin, which I gave 3 stars. I like the time span in this story, but the reason she hates the main character is just very dramatic to me, and I can't get with it. Then I reread The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. So some backstory into why I decided to reread this. So, I read all the Hunger Games like probably back in high school, and I was like, the new movie had just came out, the Battle of Songbirds and Snakes, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch this. I'm anti-President Snow. I don't want to read about him. I don't want to watch about him. Well, my husband made me watch it, and I liked the movie. So I was like, well, now I gotta read the book. But I was like, I haven't read The Hunger Games in so long, so I gotta reread The Hunger Games. So I reread all the Hunger Games. The first Hunger Games, 4 stars. Solid introduction into the story. And I will say the adaptation of the movies are really good. So then I read Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. That's a 4.5. That's the best Hunger Games book. I'm sorry. If you have problems with that, don't at me. And then I read Mockingjay, and that's a 3. Sorry, Mockingjay is slow, is boring, and I don't really care for it. And yeah, and look at the movies. Mockingjay Part 1, fell asleep because I rewatched all the movies. And Mockingjay Part 2 is cool, but it's just like, it's too much. So that's everything I read in July.